With the passing of Stan Lee, and Betty White, who is America's token old person now. Number Dolly Parton better not fucking die before I do. The challenge is that most of the people being listed are living quiet lives out of the public eye. Stan and Betty were pretty active almost right up until their ends. Tony Bennett's still been recording, I think, or at least has up until pretty recently, if he's stopped. Has Mel Brooks been writing or executive producing anything? Same with Norman Lear? Say nothing. This is a trap. r/killed by Reddit watches this thread in bated breath. Carol Burnett just turned 89 today. Dick Van Dyke. Henry Winkler agreed on Twitter to be America's grandpa, since we lost Grandma Betty. Christopher Lloyd. Mel Brooks. Jimmy Carter and James Earl Jones. Willie Nelson. Bob Barker. He's 98 years old. Perfect. Dolly Parton. Morgan Freeman. Serious women who gave the creep a chance. How did it go? I walked in on him peeing in my washing machine after letting him in my home for some reason. He slit his wrists and showed me on FaceTime the blood dripping out while he was crying. Just because I broke up with him. The dude in the flat across from mine started off as a really nice guy. Introduced himself, offered meals when he'd cooked too much. Just a great guy all round. Within a few weeks, it was made clear that he was an alcoholic. I have a recovering brother, so I really sympathized with him. I went out of my way to sit with him, and eventually called him an ambulance when he fitted from withdrawals, UK, so calling an ambulance is free. This carried on for a little while, with me sitting with him 2 or 3 times a week, waiting for an ambulance. One night after he started fitting, he kept grabbing my breasts. I was already on the phone to the ambulance service, but the woman heard me telling him to stop and sent police as well. He was carted off, and just like usual, I grabbed his keys and told him to knock for them the next morning. Well, the NRXT time I looked after him, the groping got worse. And then slowly so did my life. Suddenly I had fires set outside my windows, and mutilated rat corpses left on my doorstep. The police were called after every incident, and I got to know one policeman who was put on my case really well. He suggested I put up cameras, so I did. There was footage of the neighbor standing outside in the yard at 3 a.m., just staring into my window, multiple nights in a row. Terrifying, but not illegal. Well, 2 weeks after that, my neighbor snapped. There were builders in the garden next to ours, and they apparently woke him up at 4 p.m. He ran out with a kitchen knife and stabbed 2 of the builders and the neighbor's dog. Everyone survived. He also slashed a whole bunch of tires on our street. When the police came to search the dude's flat, my policeman friend told me, off the books, that the neighbor had been faking being an alcoholic the entire time. He'd get in the ambulance, ride to the hospital, and then check himself out and walk home. Also, they found half a dozen decomposing rats in his bathtub. They'd been mutilated. They later found a bloody hammer under his bed. You'd think him being arrested would be the end of it, but no. He put my name, picture, address, and telephone number on a prostitution site. I had men aggressively hounding me for sex multiple times an hour for 2 entire weeks before I just cut all ties and fled the city. Last I heard, he was in jail for the GBH, but that was a few years ago now. Yet. Never gonna make the same mistake again. Deleted. He stalked me for almost 8 months, and I still do not want to know how he got my address. I was 19, he was 31. End number X200B. God, I was so naive. I had a bad vibe, but my friend told me he was a good guy. So we went on a date and he asked to drive my car. He curbed my rims and talked about how he was fired unfairly from his job. The next weekend I avoided his calls and instead went out to dinner with friends. While I was gone, he broke into my apartment. My neighbors and the cops were waiting outside when I got home. I spent the night at my mom's. He showed up at 0300 when I let him out and was trying to get in a window. Wonderful officer spent the rest of the night in the driveway. Fast forward a couple weeks and he shows up at my work, mopes over to me and hands me folded papers. It was 8 to 10 handwritten front and back notebook papers where he alternated between telling me I was the love of his life to why he hated me and wished I would die. I was terrified. Security escorted him away. Never saw him again, but found out later he did the same thing to some girl in Spokane, but he was able to actually get in, beat her and landed her in the hospital. Edit, the friend was dating my best friend and the good guy was his cousin. I think he really wanted us to hit it off so the four of us could all hang out together or something. He was shocked by the actions of his cousin but did tell me later that he had thought he changed. They're not longer dating and haven't talked to him in years and years. This happened 20 years ago in the PNW. Guy had serious untreated mental health problems, which resulted in him spending 4 years stalking me and making me resent giving that one chance. I made multiple calls to police and paramedics because he would call me up threatening suicide unless I would help him. He still finds me on social medias and random gaming apps to say hi, I miss you but I now live more than 1,000 kilometers away. Back in high school several of my female friends and I, also female, had an off period before lunch, so we were all sitting around a table chatting. One of the female security guards came up to us and told me that there was a new exchange student from Amsterdam that thought I was cute, but he was too nervous to come over and introduce himself. I have zero interest in men, but I figured there wasn't any harm in letting the guy come sit with us and helping him feel more comfortable at our school. So he comes over, sits down with us, and chats a bit. He seemed rather shy, and he had about a dozen piercings going up each arm that he kept fiddling with, and a bunch of facial piercings. Then class lets out and people, including a bunch of my male friends, start showing up for lunch. First male friend sits down and introduces himself. New guy doesn't not respond at all, doesn't even look at friend. Weird. Maybe just shy? Second male friend comes and sits down. Same thing. Slightly unsettling now. We kept trying to include him over lunch but he would only respond to the women. Wouldn't even acknowledge the other guys at the table. I never talked to him again after that lunch period and 2 weeks later he got expelled for slamming a girl against a locker and choking her to the point she nearly passed out. Met him when I worked as a cashier in a small downtown shop. Wasn't my type and seemed a little off, but I was young and had zero real dating experience. Agreed to grab coffee as a friend and made it clear I didn't have a romantic interest. He became convinced he was Gatsby and I was his Daisy. The Great Gatsby film had just come out that year. Started stalking me and endlessly sending letters and gifts to me at work describing how we were fated to be together. When I confronted him to stop, he started having his friends follow me at work or drop by to check in on me. Prowled outside on nights I had to close shop alone. I ended up quitting that job and things fizzled. 7 months later I got a call from a number I didn't recognize. It was the same dude. He just got released from a short prison sentence and was letting me know he thought of me every day and was going to find me so we could finally be together. I made up a story that I was traveling abroad for college and would be gone indefinitely. Changed my number and luckily haven't heard from him again. Did one video chat with him during which he asked if he could, call me again later in the day. When I told him no, I'll be busy, I started getting random text messages throughout my day that said, "Are you okay? Just let me know you're okay." The first I responded to, I said, "Hey, yeah, I'm fine. I just hung up with you 30 minutes ago, bud." He took that as a sign that I wanted to talk more, so he attempted another video call. When I didn't respond, he started again with the texts. Didn't even bother responding to the rest. Up to 20 unread messages later before I was able to block him while leaving him on read. He got very obsessed with me. I had to be straight up rude to get him to leave me alone because he wouldn't understand when I asked nicely. He later self-harmed on his own wrists and went around telling people to ask me why he did that. Edit, might be relevant, but I was 17 and he was 26. Knew he was weird before the first date. I was sad and thought maybe he'd be different in person. Showed up to the date and he walked with a crazy limp, told me he was into pee stuff, wouldn't pay for dinner, tried to kiss me 3 times. When I got home that night he sent me a full-body nude completely out of the blue. I never saw him again. He texted me 3 months later to tell me I was the worst human and most selfish person he's ever met. And then he blocked me. Reading this I realized I actually have something to contribute, lol. I gave him a chance in high school. I was 15, he was 18. Ended with him sticking his tongue down my throat several times quite aggressively, joking about stabbing me as he lunged a knife at me and laughed about it while carving pumpkins, and threatened to shoot up the school with a list of names, my friend and I's being top of the list. He got suspended and no one ever saw him again. Update, my friends and I found out he's now in the military. He sexually assaulted me and got mad when I told him I just wanted to be friends. The friends part was to get him to leave my house. He stalked me. He made videos of himself crying because I broke his heart after him knowing me for a month. He told everyone I was just a fat whore who used men. I didn't take anything from him or have sex with him. I gave him a whole month and every time I would hang out he would keep me up until 3 AM crying that I didn't love him. It was bad. What is a topic you absolutely cannot give a fuck about? Which celebrity is dating whom, who broke up with whom, who got back together? Deleted. TikTokers, influencers etc. Celebrities' personal lives. Paid content with commercials. Anything to do with Facebook. Any awards show. Celebrities, royals, and influencers in general. I'd rather talk about pinching glass. Edit, spelling. Rich people being mean to each other. Reality singing competitions. Anything on any ad played before a YouTube video, ever. Gender reveal parties. Edit, because there may be some cross-cultural confusion, a gender reveal party is an event in which expectant parents dramatically reveal the sex of their yet-to-be-born baby. They may pop balloons to reveal blue or pink confetti, slice into a colored cake, or burn down a forest, etc. Not an astrology hater, but I couldn't care if I wanted to. Celebrities. TV dating shows. I don't give the slightest bit of a fuck if tanned, generic cunt A will end up with tanned, generic cunt B or C.